Ella Martinez brushed dust from the ancient stone tablet and squinted at the faded symbols. The dim light of the underground archive made reading difficult, but she didn't dare use a brighter lamp. The old documents might crumble under stronger light. "Find anything interesting?" Ella jumped at the voice. Her assistant, Cree, stood in the doorway. The young Nelvari's blue skin looked almost gray in the poor light. "Maybe," Ella said. She pointed to the symbols. "This talks about them again. The humans." Cree sighed and leaned against a bookshelf. "The mythical creatures? Professor, you know what the university thinks about this research." Ella ignored the comment. For 15 years, she had searched for proof that humans were real. Most Nelvari believed humans were just old stories, tales to scare children. Monsters from beyond the stars. But Ella knew better. The evidence was scattered across too many planets, in too many different languages to be just stories. "Look at this," she said, showing Cree a symbol that looked like two crossed lines inside a circle. "This mark appears on artifacts from 20 different worlds, all from the same time period, all with stories about these beings called humans." "Coincidence?" Cree said. 5,000 years ago something happened that shook the entire galaxy, Ella continued. The old records call it the Sundering War. After that, humans vanished from every historical record. A soft beep came from Ella's bag. She pulled out her data reader and frowned at the message. "The university has cut our funding," she said. "Effective tomorrow." Cree didn't look surprised. "I'm sorry, Professor." Ella packed her tools with careful movements. She had expected this. The elders who controlled the university didn't like her research. The older Nelvari species were nervous about anything that questioned their place as the wisest beings in the galaxy. "What will you do now?" Cree asked. "I have one more place to check," Ella said. "The ruins on Carthus." "Carthus? That's in the dead zone. No one goes there, which makes it perfect for hiding things." Ella smiled. "The university doesn't control my personal time." 3 days later, Ella stood in the ruins of what had once been a great city. Carthus orbited a dying star, its surface a wasteland of broken buildings and dust. According to legend, it had been destroyed in the final days of the Sundering War. Ella's scanner led her to a sealed door beneath what might have been a temple. The door was made of a black material that felt warm, too. The touch despite the planet's freezing temperature. It took her hours to open it. Inside, she found a small room with a pedestal in the center. On the pedestal sat a crystal cube that glowed with soft blue light. "A data crystal," she whispered. The technology was ancient but familiar. The Concordat, the alliance of all known, intelligent species, used similar technology for their most important records. Ella connected the crystal to her reader. Most of the data was corrupted, but she could access some files. They showed star maps, coordinates, and images that made her heart race. Ships. Thousands of them. Larger than any vessel the Concordat had ever built. And on their sides, the same symbol she had seen on the tablets, two crossed lines in a circle. Her reader beeped again. A message from Joe Freeman, an old friend who captained a small trading ship. "Got your message," he wrote. "Crazy plan, I'm in. Meet me at Docking Bay, 7 tomorrow." 2 weeks later, Joe's ship, the Wanderer, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the coordinates from the crystal. They were far beyond Concordat space, in a region where no stars shone. "Nothing here," Joe said. He ran his hand through his gray hair. "Just empty space." "Try the secondary coordinates," Ella suggested. Joe adjusted their course. The ship moved deeper into the darkness. Suddenly, alarms blared. "What is that?" Ella asked, pointing at the screen. "A debris field," Joe said. His voice was tight. "A big one." The Wanderer's lights revealed pieces of metal floating in space. Some chunks were tiny, others were massive, bigger than their entire ship. "This metal," Joe said, examining the scanner. "It's not in our database." Ella pressed her face to the viewport. "These are pieces of ships. Look at the design. The broken sections showed parts of what had once been massive vessels, and on some pieces, barely visible under layers of space dust, was that same symbol. "We need samples?" Ella said. Joe looked nervous but nodded. He maneuvered the ship closer to the debris field. Using the Wanderer's mechanical arm, they collected several small pieces of the strange metal. "It's lighter than it should be," Joe said, weighing a fragment in his hand once they brought it aboard. "And look at this detail. This is advanced work." Ella scanned the piece with her reader. "This metal contains elements I've never seen before. And there's some kind of energy signature still active." The ship's sensors suddenly beeped. Joe ran to the controls. "Something's coming," he said, "from deeper in the field." Ella joined him at the viewport. At first, she saw nothing but darkness. Then she noticed that some of the stars were disappearing as if something was moving in front of them. "Is it an asteroid?" she asked. Joe shook his head, his face pale. "Too regular, too precise." He pointed to the radar. "Whatever it is, it's big, really big." More stars vanished. A shape began to form in the darkness, a massive silhouette blocking the distant starlight. "It's a ship," Ella whispered. The object moved closer. It was indeed a ship, but unlike anything the Concordat had ever built. It was sleek, dark, and enormous, at least 20 times the size of the largest known vessel. "We should run," Joe said, his hands moving to the controls. Before he could activate the engines, a beam of light shot from the giant ship, enveloping the Wanderer in a soft blue glow. Their systems went dark. The ship froze in space. "What's happening?" Ella asked, her voice shaking. "They've disabled us," Joe said. A voice came through their communication system. It spoke in perfect Nelvari, with a strange accent Ella had never heard before. "Unknown vessel, you have entered restricted space. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." Joe looked at Ella, his eyes wide with fear. "What should I say?" Ella swallowed hard and stepped toward the communication panel. "This is Ella Martinez, archaeologist from Nelvara. We are on a research mission." There was a long pause. Then the voice returned. "Prepare to be brought aboard." The blue light brightened. Ella felt a strange tingling sensation spread across her skin. Through the viewport, she saw the massive ship opening, revealing a brightly lit hangar bay large enough to hold dozens of vessels the size of the Wanderer. "Joe," she whispered, "I think we just found proof that humans aren't myths." As their small ship was pulled toward the massive vessel, Ella realized that everything she thought she knew about galactic history was about to change. The legends were real. Humans existed, and they had never really left. The Wanderer floated into the massive hangar bay like a leaf carried by a gentle stream. Ella and Joe stood frozen at the viewport, watching as their small ship was guided to a landing pad. The hangar could have held hundreds of vessels there. Size. Metal walls stretched up and away into shadows. Strange machines moved on tracks along the ceiling. "I've never seen technology like this," Joe whispered. His hands gripped the edge of the control panel so hard his knuckles turned white. Ella nodded. Her heart pounded in her chest. After years of searching for proof that humans existed, she now feared what that proof might mean. A soft hiss came from the airlock. The ship's computer announced, "External atmosphere compatible, pressure normal." "They want us to go out there," Joe said. Ella took a deep breath. "Then we go." They walked to the airlock. The door slid open. A walkway had extended from their ship to the hangar floor. At the bottom stood 3 figures. Ella's first thought was that they looked almost like Nelvari. They had the same basic shape, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But their skin was different colors, one pale pink, one dark brown, one a shade between. They wore tight-fitting black uniforms with that same symbol Ella had seen before. 2 crossed lines in a circle on their chests. "They look like us," Joe said. The old stories were right. The central figure, a tall person with short gray hair, stepped forward. "I am Admiral Paul Carter of the Earth Fleet ship Reckoning. Welcome aboard." The words were in perfect Nelvari. Ella managed to find her voice. You speak our language? Admiral Carter nodded. We speak all languages of the Concordat. Please follow me. We have much to discuss. Ella and Joe exchanged glances, then walked down the ramp. The hangar floor was solid under their feet. The air smelled clean, with a hint of something sweet Ella couldn't identify. They followed the three humans through wide corridors. Other humans passed them, some nodding politely. Most looked curious, none seemed hostile. Are you going to tell us why this area is restricted? Joe asked. Or why your people have hidden out here for thousands of years? The Admiral didn't look back as he walked. All in good time, Captain Freeman. How do you know my name? Joe asked, his voice sharp with surprise. We know many things, the Admiral replied. They entered a large room with a round table in its center. The walls were curved and seemed to be made of glass, showing the stars outside. Admiral Carter gestured for them to sit. Refreshments? He asked. Ella shook her head. Joe did the same. The Admiral sat across from them. The other two humans remained standing near the door. You have questions, he said. That's good. Questions are how we learn. But first, let me tell you a story. He pressed a button on the table. A holographic display appeared above them, showing a spiral galaxy. Their galaxy. 5,000 years ago, humans were part of the Concordat, Admiral Carter said. We had explored more of space than any other species. We had colonies on hundreds of worlds. The display zoomed in to show star systems lighting up across the galaxy. The elder races feared us, he continued. We learned too quickly. We adapted too well. We built things they didn't understand. The Sundering War, Ella whispered. Admiral Carter nodded. Yes. The elders turned the other species against us. They tried to wipe us out. The display showed explosions spreading across star systems. We fought back. Hard. His voice grew quieter. Too hard. Billions died on all sides. Joe leaned forward. So the stories are true. Humans nearly destroyed the galaxy. We nearly destroyed ourselves, the Admiral corrected. And when we saw what we had become, we made a choice. We would leave. Remove ourselves from the equation. The display showed human ships gathering, then moving beyond the edge of the galaxy. We found places to hide, to rebuild, to rethink who we were and what we wanted to be. The Admiral looked at Ella. We erased ourselves from Concordat records. Let ourselves become myths. It was better that way. But now you're back, Ella said. Why? Admiral Carter's face grew serious. Because there are worse things in the universe than humans, Dr. Martinez. And they're coming. The display changed to show something moving between galaxies, a dark mass that seemed to eat stars as it traveled. We call it the Harvest, the Admiral said. A machine intelligence that consumes all organic life it encounters. It has destroyed 3 neighboring galaxies in the last 1,000 years. Ella felt cold. And it's coming here? Yes. The first wave will reach the outer systems of the Concordat within 2 years. Joe stood up suddenly. This is why you brought us here? To tell us we're all going to die? Admiral Carter shook his head. No. To tell you we're going to help you live. The display changed again, showing thousands of massive ships, human ships, moving into formation. While we've been gone, we've been preparing, the Admiral said. Building, learning, growing stronger. We've faced the Harvest before in its early stages. We drove it back, but only temporarily. Now it has grown too large for a small force to stop it. So you need the Concordat's help, Joe said. Admiral Carter smiled, but there was no humor in it. No, Captain, the Concordat needs our help. Your weapons, your ships, your tactics, they won't even slow the Harvest down. Ella tried to process what she was hearing. You're saying only humans can save the galaxy? I'm saying humans are the galaxy's best hope, the Admiral replied. We've spent 5,000 years preparing for this moment. He stood and walked to the window. Your discovery of our outpost was not an accident, Dr. Martinez. We've been watching you, your research, your questions about us. We needed someone who could help ease our return. Me? Ella asked. Why me? Because you believed in us when no one else did, Admiral Carter said. And because the Concordat will need to believe in us too very soon. He turned back to them. In 3 days, human ships will enter Concordat space for the first time in 5 millennia. We will position ourselves near major worlds, ready to defend them when the harvest arrives. They'll see it as an invasion, Joe warned. Perhaps, the Admiral agreed. That's why we need you, both of you, to help explain why we've returned, to help prepare your people for what's coming. Ella thought of the university that had mocked her research, the elders who had cut her funding. What would they think when they learned humans were real and coming back? Will you help us? Admiral Carter asked. Before Ella could answer, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. One of the humans at the door pressed a hand to his ear, listening to something. Sir, he said to the Admiral, we've detected Concordat ships entering the debris field. 3 vessels military class, they must have followed the Wanderer's trail. Admiral Carter's expression didn't change. It seems our return will begin sooner than planned. He looked at Ella. Your answer, Doctor? Ella looked at Joe, who nodded slightly. She turned back to the Admiral. We'll help, she said, but I want to know everything. No more secrets. Admiral Carter smiled. A real smile this time. No more secrets, he agreed. It's time for humans to step out of the shadows. Outside the window, the stars seemed to shift as the massive ship began to move. The Concordat ships hung in space like 3 metal fish, dwarfed by the massive human vessel. Through the view screen, Ella watched as they formed a triangle pattern, a standard defensive position. They're preparing to attack, Joe said. Admiral, Carter shook his head. Their weapons couldn't scratch our hull, but we don't want to fight. He turned to one of his officers. Open a channel. A screen lit up showing the interior of the lead Concordat ship. A stern-faced Nelvari commander stared back at them. His eyes widened when he saw Ella and Joe standing beside the Admiral. This is Commander Vex of the Concordat Security Force, he said. Release the Nelvari citizens immediately. They're not prisoners, Admiral Carter replied calmly. They're our guests. Vex's eyes narrowed. Identify yourself and your vessel. I am Admiral Paul Carter of the Earth Fleet. This ship is the Reckoning. The commander's face showed no recognition at the word Earth, but several officers behind him began to whisper to each other. Earth, one of them said, like in the old stories. Commander Vex silenced them with a gesture. Whatever you call yourselves, you are in restricted space. Surrender your vessel and prepare to be boarded. Admiral Carter smiled slightly. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Commander. However, we would be happy to send representatives to the Concordat Council to explain our presence. You will explain it to me. Now. Ella stepped forward. Commander Vex, I'm Dr. Ella Martinez from Nelvara University. These people are humans. The stories are true. They've been living outside our galaxy for thousands of years. Vex looked at her with disbelief. Dr. Martinez, you disappeared 2 weeks ago. The university reported you were researching forbidden topics. Not forbidden, Ella said. Just uncomfortable for the elders. The humans were real all along, and they're coming. Back to help us. Before Vex could respond, alarms sounded on his ship. An officer rushed to his side. Multiple vessels appearing, sir. They're huge. The screen split to show a tactical display. 5 more human ships had appeared behind the Concordat vessels. Please don't do anything rash, Commander, Admiral Carter said. We come in peace. Vex's face hardened. Power up weapons, prepare to... The screen went blank. Admiral Carter sighed. They've cut communications, said an officer. Show me outside view, the Admiral ordered. The screen changed to show the 3 Concordat ships. Their weapons ports were opening, energy building up for a strike. Should we disable them? Asked another human officer. Admiral Carter nodded. Gently. Soft blue light shot from the Reckoning, touching each Concordat ship in turn. The lights on the vessels flickered and went dark. They drifted motionless in space. No permanent damage, the Admiral explained to Ella. We've just temporarily shut down their systems. Joe whistled. That was impressive. Now we need to move. Quickly, Admiral Carter said. The Concordat Council must be informed of our return and the threat that's coming. He turned to Ella and Joe. Will you speak for us? Ella felt dizzy at the thought. The council won't listen to me. I'm just an archaeologist. An archaeologist who found proof of humans when everyone said you were chasing myths. The Admiral reminded her. Sometimes the truth needs someone stubborn to speak it. 3 days later, Ella stood before the Concordat Council on the central world of Harmony. The council chamber was a vast circular room with seating for representatives from over 50 species. The elder races, the Caridian, the Voloth, and the Metixi, sat on elevated platforms at the front. Beside Ella stood Joe and a human woman named Lisa Wright, who served as Earth's diplomatic representative. The chamber buzzed with nervous conversation. News had spread quickly after the human ships had positioned themselves near major Concordat worlds. Elder Voloth, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, raised a hand for silence. This council has gathered to address the arrival of vessels belonging to a species claiming to be humans. He spoke the word as if it tasted bad. Dr. Martinez, you have requested this audience. Speak. Ella stepped forward, her legs shaking, slightly. Honored Council, for years I researched evidence that humans were not just legends but a real species that once lived among the stars. 3 weeks ago, I found proof. She activated a holographic projector showing the data crystal from Carthus. This led me to discover that humans never went extinct. They chose to leave our galaxy after the Sundering War. Angry muttering spread through the chamber. Elder Caridian, a small creature with large eyes, leaned forward. These claims are absurd. Even if humans once existed, they would have been primitive compared to the elder races. We have always led the Concordat. Lisa Wright stepped forward. With respect, Elder, that is not true. She activated her own projector. Images appeared showing ancient human cities, spacecraft, and technology, all dated thousands of years before the formation of the Concordat. Humans achieved space travel 6,000 years before any current Concordat species, Lisa said. When the elder races were still learning to make fire, we were building ships that could cross the galaxy. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Elder Metixi, a reptilian being, slammed a scaled hand on the table. Lies, the records show no such thing. Because you erased them, Lisa replied calmly. After the Sundering War, the elder races removed all evidence of human advancement from the historical record. You rewrote history to place yourselves at its center. Joe stepped forward. We've seen their ships. Their technology makes ours look like children's toys. And they're not here to take revenge for the past. They're here to save us all. Ella activated the final projection, the images Admiral Carter had shown them of the harvest approaching the galaxy. This is coming, she said. A machine intelligence that destroys all organic life. It has already consumed 3 neighboring galaxies. The humans have fought it before. They know how to fight it now. Without their help, the Concordat will fall. Elder Voloth stood, his face dark with anger. This is clearly a deception to justify an invasion. These humans appear after thousands of years with tales of a convenient threat we cannot see. Lisa Wright's voice remained calm. The evidence is available for your scientists to verify. The harvest will reach your outer worlds in less than 2 years. We could have simply protected our own hidden colonies and let the Concordat fall. Instead, we've revealed ourselves to help you. A younger council member, a Brakiri with blue fur, stood. If what they say is true, why did humans leave in the first place? Why abandon the galaxy if they were so advanced? Lisa looked sad. Because we nearly destroyed it. The Sundering War showed us the danger we posed, to you and to ourselves. We chose exile over risking further harm. She gestured toward the images of the harvest. But some threats are greater than the risk of our return. We've spent 5,000 years preparing for this enemy. Now we ask you to stand with us against it. The chamber fell silent. Then Elder Caridian spoke in a cold voice. We will need time to verify these claims and discuss our response. Time is precious, Lisa warned. But we will wait. Our ships will remain in position, ready to defend your worlds whether you accept our help or not. As they left the chamber, Joe whispered to Ella. That went about as well as expected. Ella nodded. The elders won't easily give up their position. They've built everything on being the first and wisest species. Will it matter? Joe asked. The humans could just take control if they wanted to. That's not our way, Lisa said quietly. We learned that lesson long ago. We won't force our help on anyone, but we won't stand by and watch innocent people die either. As they walked outside, they saw crowds gathering in the streets. News screens showed images of human ships positioned above major worlds across the Concordat. The ships that had once been dismissed as myths now blocked out the stars, visible reminders that everything the people of the Concordat thought they knew about their history and their future had changed forever. 1 month after the council meeting, Ella sat in a small office on the human station that now orbited Nelvara. Through the window she could see her homeworld below. Blue oceans, green lands, and white clouds. It looked peaceful from up here. On the surface, it was anything but. The Concordat had split into factions. Some worlds welcomed human help and protection. Others refused it, calling the humans invaders, using a made-up threat to control the galaxy again. The elder races mostly sided against the humans. Younger species like the Nelvari were divided. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. Daniel Young, a human scientist, entered with a stack of data tablets. More records from Earth archives, he said, placing them on her desk. These might help convince some of the doubters. Daniel had been working with Ella to gather evidence about human history and the harvest threat. He was tall with dark skin and kind eyes. Ella had come to trust him over the past weeks. Thank you, she said. But I'm not sure more evidence will help. The elders don't want to believe. Daniel sat across from her. It's hard to give up power. The elders have led the Concordat for thousands of years. Now they're learning everything they believed about history was wrong, and that they might not be able to save their people from what's coming, Ella added. The door opened again. Joe entered, looking tired. He had been flying between worlds, helping coordinate with those who accepted human assistance. The Voloth have ordered all human ships to leave their space, he announced. They're threatening to fire on any that remain. Daniel shook his head. That would be a mistake. A big one, Joe agreed. I've seen what your weapons can do. Those ships could vaporize whole fleets without trying hard. We won't attack Concordat vessels, Daniel said firmly. Admiral Carter has made that clear, but we also won't leave people unprotected when the harvest comes. Ella stood and walked to the window. How can we convince them the threat is real? The harvest is still months away from the outer systems. Until people see it, many won't believe. Daniel's tablet beeped. He read the message and his face grew serious. That timeline just changed, he said. We've detected harvest scout ships entering the Mira system. Joe frowned. Mira? That's a Voloth colony. They've rejected human protection. I need to talk to Lisa, Ella said. They found the human diplomat in the station's command center, surrounded by screens showing various star systems. Lisa Wright was shorter than most humans Ella had met, with gray streaked through her darks hair. She looked up as they entered. You heard about Mira? She asked. Ella nodded. Can we warn them? We've tried. The Voloth governor refuses all communication from human sources. Lisa pointed to a screen showing a small fleet of Voloth defense ships. They think they can handle any threat. Those ships won't stand a chance. Against even harvest scouts, Daniel said. Lisa nodded grimly. We know. That's why Admiral Carter has ordered the Defender to move into position near Mira, but remain cloaked. Cloaked? Joe asked. Your ships can become invisible? To Concordat. Sensors, yes, Lisa said. The harvest will still detect them, though. Ella leaned closer to the screen showing Mira. How many people live there? About 3 million, Lisa replied. Mostly Voloth, some other species. The room fell silent as they all thought about what that meant. 3 million lives at risk because their leaders refused to believe the danger was real. What can we do? Ella finally asked. Lisa smiled slightly. That's why I like you, Dr. Martinez. Always looking for solutions. She turned to a larger screen. We've prepared a message for general broadcast across all Concordate channels. I want your opinion on it. The screen showed Admiral Carter standing on the bridge of his ship. He spoke directly to the camera, his voice steady and calm. People of the Concordate. This is Admiral Paul Carter of Earth Fleet. Harvest scout ships have entered the Mira system. These scouts precede the main harvest force and are extremely dangerous. The Voloth defenses at Mira cannot stop them. We have positioned our vessel defender near Mira, ready to protect the colony when the attack comes. We will reveal ourselves and engage the enemy only if necessary, respecting Voloth sovereignty until lives are at risk. To any Concordate citizens in the Mira system, prepare for possible evacuation. To the Voloth leadership, we stand ready to help. All we ask is that you watch and judge us by our actions, not your fears. The message ended. Ella nodded slowly. It's good, direct, honest. Will they listen? Joe asked. Some will, Lisa said. Others won't, until they see what we're facing. The next day, the Harvest Scouts reached Mira. The station's main screen showed the battle from a safe distance. The Scouts were black, angular ships that moved with unnatural speed. There were only 5 of them, each smaller than a Voloth cruiser. Yet within minutes they had destroyed half the Voloth defense fleet. Ella watched in horror as Voloth ships exploded one after another. Their weapons seemed to do nothing against the Harvest vessels. Why isn't the defender helping? She asked. Waiting. For permission, Lisa said, her face tight with tension. The Voloth governor still refuses to request aid. On the screen, the last Voloth ships formed a line between the scouts and the planet. It was a brave but hopeless gesture. Suddenly, the largest Voloth ship broadcast on an open channel. The commander's voice was strained but dignified. Human, vessel, if you are truly there as you claim, now would be the time to prove it. A moment later, a massive ship appeared between the Voloth defenders and the Harvest scouts. The defender was twice the size of any Concordate vessel Ella had ever seen. Its black hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Now watch, Daniel said softly. The Harvest scouts immediately changed course, moving to attack the new threat. They fired weapons that looked like streams of dark energy. The shots hit the defender's hull but seemed to disappear without effect. The human ship didn't fire weapons in return. Instead, it projected a field of blue energy that expanded outward. When this field touched the Harvest scouts, they simply stopped moving. Their systems went dark. They drifted in space, completely disabled. What happened? Joe asked. What kind of weapon is that? Not a weapon, Daniel explained. It's a specialized electromagnetic pulse that only affects Harvest technology. We developed it after studying their ships for centuries. On the screen, smaller craft launched from the Defender, moving toward the disabled scouts. Research teams, Lisa said. They'll gather data before destroying the scouts. Each encounter teaches us more about Harvest weaknesses. Ella looked at the remaining Voloth ships, still holding position near their planet. Will this change their minds? Will they accept help now? Lisa smiled. The governor just sent a message requesting a meeting with Admiral Carter. It's a start. Over the following weeks, news of the battle at Mira spread across the Concordate. Video of the human ship effortlessly defeating the Harvest scouts convinced many worlds to accept human protection. Even some of the elder systems began quiet negotiations. On Nelvara, Ella became something of a celebrity. The archaeologist who had insisted humans were real was now helping coordinate defense preparations. Human experts worked with local forces, teaching them about harvest tactics and how to evacuate civilians if necessary. Frank Benson, a human military advisor, trained Nelvari defense pilots. Humans don't just win wars, he told them during one session. We end them. That's what we plan to do with the harvest, end them for good. As Ella watched the training from a distance, Joe joined her. Do you think we can win? He asked quietly. Ella looked up at the sky where human ships were now visible day and night, their massive forms partially blocking the stars. I think, she said slowly, that the humans have been preparing for this fight for thousands of years. If anyone can win it, they can. Joe nodded, his eyes still on the ships above. Let's hope you're right, because the main harvest fleet is coming, and from what I've seen of even their scouts, we'll need every advantage we can get.